As someone who's currently witnessing a historical presidential election, we must establish and ensure that the system in place is both fair and representative of the American people. I truly believe that there is a reform needed to uphold the constitutional rights of the American people's right to democracy. I also know that this topic will be hard to listen to for some people, but I believe that this is the next step in furthering our democratic state. Established as a sovereign nation by and for the people, the Electoral College no longer represents a free America. Historically, the Electoral College provided a compromise between the popular election of the president and congressional selection, according to historyhouse.gov, and has been changed multiple times throughout the centuries to better accommodate the changing times. The first version of the Electoral College stayed true to the 12th Amendment's original intent, but we solely lost the original purpose of the system. While not officially stated at first in the Constitution, the 12th Amendment changed a section of Article 2, Section 1, which originally declared nothing having to do with the Electoral College. Over the eventual growth of the U.S., it became clear to redesigners of the Constitution that another system needed to be put in place in order to finalize election results. However, it's been criticized over and over again for its winner-take-all mentality, and I can certainly see why. I will say, regardless of where you land on the political spectrum, the right to pick your president should be in the hands of the people and not the representatives, and they shouldn't be able to completely disregard the popular vote. I'm not saying complete eradication of the Electoral College, but I would like to see a reformation of it to better meet the needs of America's citizens by conforming to the majority rule principle, according to Politico from 2019. However, I'm not completely blind to see how big the Electoral College is and how it can also benefit our society. For those who are supporters of the two-party system, the United States currently has, the Electoral College protects this system, and that it says that extreme views don't usually equate to specific votes. Also, it eliminates the potential threat of a recount because the Electoral College allows the United States to use the elector votes instead of the counting individual votes. The last presidential election was an example of the discrepancy between the popular vote and the Electoral College, as President Trump lost the popular vote but managed to win via the Electoral College, sealing his presidential win. You may be wondering how exactly this is an issue when it comes to a democratic election, since it's been this way since the ratification of the 12th Amendment. First of all, the main reasons why the founders wanted this system in place was to exclude the voters who may have been uninformed from making hasty judgments in the election. The electors would take into account their citizens' ideals and vote along that way. Currently, though, modern technology helps those who might be uninformed to make informed decisions. Also, members of the Electoral College are picked by Democratic and Republican parties and are expected to vote along party lines regardless of their own opinions about the candidates, according to procon.org from 2017. Another flaw to the Electoral College system is that it gives too much power to the swing states, which allows presidents to be elected by the most populous and powerful states. For example, California can be counted are going to the Democratic Party, while Texas can be counted are going to the Republican Party. And the candidates can rest easy knowing that these states are a given. Because of this, presidential nominees only have to visit states that can lean one way or another and convince their population to vote for them. And perhaps the most important reason for reformation of the Electoral College is the idea of faithless electors, as ncsl.org states. And in other words, the Electoral College replaces the will of the people and pushes career politicians' ideas to the front. While there are over 300,000 people in the U.S., only 538 people will decide the fate of the election. And there are conspiracies that the representatives of the Electoral College don't have people's thoughts at the forefront of their decisions. So much of people's constitutional rights to elect a majority president can pave the way for a minority president, or one who receives less than the majority of the popular vote. And while this may seem disparaging, there are ways to reform the Electoral College system. Much debate over this topic has led to multiple ideas of reformation of the Electoral College system, and many of them start at the state level. Ranked choice voting is a great choice for voting of the president. It is a system in which the voters rank the presidential candidates from most favored to least favored, and if one of the nominees gains the majority of the vote, then he or she is the winner. If no nominee wins the majority, then the candidate with the fewest first preference votes is eliminated, and the second-ranked candidate wins those votes from the ballot, according to ballotopedia.org from 2020. A new tally is conducted to see if majority is found, and if yes, the election is over, and if no, the cycle repeats itself. According to ncsl.org from 2020, 22 states, including Washington, D.C., introduced around 67 bills to implement ranked choice voting in this year alone. In other years, like 2017, only 31 bills were introduced in 17 states. This also helps in smudging the lines between the two parties and allows for a more democratic approach to the direct elections. Proportional allocation of electoral votes is another system designed to give proportional electoral votes based on the popular vote from each state. For example, if a candidate gets 47% of the popular vote, then 47% of the Electoral College votes go to them instead of the 0% like in the normal Electoral College system, with this information being accessed from electionreformers.org from 2020. The best part is that ranked choice voting can fit along with this system to make a much more accurate voting system of voters directly ranking their nominees and the Electoral College still existing, just adjusted to comply with the popular vote. Many states use ranked choice voting using statewide decrees to do so, and according to fairvote.org from 2020, they currently use it for electing state officials and are hoping to be able to use it in the future for presidential elections. In Maine, one of the biggest proponents of ranked choice voting, it was implemented in 2016 and was first used in 2018 for state and federal primary elections, as well as general elections for Congress. Maine is going to adopt the ranked choice voting for the general presidential election this year and primary presidential elections in 2024. Some cities in California have also been using ranked choice voting since the early 2000s to elect mayors, city council, as well as city auditors, among other positions. And Colorado as well as Minnesota have multiple cities using this system for mayoral elections. And the states using this system benefit from it due to the less divisive nature of ranked choice voting. The incentive to appeal to voters as a second or third choice allows more civil interactions between the candidates, and turnout has also increased as it opens up the political field and deletes the innate power of money in politics and allows voters to actively choose instead of being led in one direction or the other. Much of the United States is divided when referring to such a huge thought. However, I'm not asking for complete eradication of the Electoral College, since that would be outrageous and flip our election system upside down in its wake. However, adjusting how the process is done would better represent our voters' voices and continue to reinforce the citizens' ideals and wants. While there's much more to be put on the table when talking about electoral college reform, I believe we can come up with a system that would better represent everyone in the United States.